Today, we are gonna share the ultimate tip, the tip that can take your foiling to the next level. Let's do it.
Welcome back. It's so good to see you guys. Thank you so much for joining our adventures here and the progression of this amazing sport of wing foiling. Today, we have such an awesome one for you. We are going to share with you guys the ultimate, the one, the Mac Daddy, one tip that you would share with any wing foiler out there.
Wait, but I saw we're not going to share it, so we keep ahead of everybody. You know, you don't want to share all of your tips.
We got to share. It's only one.
Okay.
We're not going to give them like 20.
Just one. Just one. Okay. So my number one tip that I say, and we have not even talked about it. No. So this is like
zero communication.
Like we decided to keep it secret from each other for a long time because we were kind of like,
we don't want to share any tips with each other.
So here we go. This is, breaking news.
Well, should I go first then? Because then I don't have to, potentially we say the same thing.
Well, sure, you go because maybe I don't share mine.
Go.
Okay, so in my opinion, and I'm going to explain why, I think for foiling, one of the top, mistake that I see at almost any level is a stance that would be too wide. And I think reducing your stance can really take your foiling to the next level. So I learned a lot from watching, some of the best riders, and I'm thinking specifically to, Kiahi, which he is able to ride waves, in my opinion, in a way that's like better than anybody. His style, he's able to keep speed through the turns in a very unique way. So if you look at his stance, it's a very narrow stance.
And that's Kiahi Diabolt.
Yeah, Kiahi. And then we also got that same tip from Oscar Johansson that broke the world record for prone foiling the longest, 2 hours and 46 minutes. Just catch a wave and then you just ride a wave for 2 hours and 46 minutes. And his tip was the same thing. Bring your back foot forward, bring your front foot back, and keep a narrow stance. You're gonna save energy. It forces you to find the sweet spot on your burn. And if you think about the slack line, people that do the slack line, they don't have a wide stance when they are on that slack line. And it's kind of like that same fine-tuned balance. Foiling is very sensitive. And if you have a wide stance is very powerful. So when you surf a wave, short burn, it's very powerful. That's why you have a short stance. When you're gonna fight, when you do play whatever game, you have a wide stance. This is powerful. Slack line, you can't you don't need all of that power. You just need to be very precise. And to me, foiling is the same. And that's why that tip of bringing your stance down, reducing your stance space between your feet, can really help you take your foiling to the next level by using that fine-tuned shift of balance to be able to carve. You don't want to take a sharp turn and lose your speed. If you have a wide stance, if it's powerful, if it's too powerful, you might do that. And that's, to me, I see a lot of mistake. I do the same. You ride a wave, you do a sharp turn, and now you have to pump. Ultimately, you lost your speed, and I think it's not ideal. You look at Kiahi, riding turns, sharp turns, but never has to pump because he is able to keep his speed. What do you think about that?
Well, it's interesting. I haven't heard this, so this is spectacular. I mean, it's cool. Here's what I would say to just add to that it's incredibly valuable, and it goes with saying the wider the stance, when you really get on it or you really drive a turn, what you actually are doing is changing the angle of the foil so aggressively that you're going to create stall, right? So if you run a little narrower, what will happen is you'll have the same drive, but you're going to keep more like a glider. It'll stay flatter, so it'll probably be more efficient through the turn versus creating these angles that'll instantly have to go into pumping or getting efficiency to keep going. So it's a very, it's an incredible point. It's a very good tip. I think it's spot on.
I mean, yeah, to me, like, I just feel like...
far from left field from where I was going.
Well, yeah, but to me, I feel like this, once I started applying that to my riding, I felt like I got just so much better at riding wave, at everything, at pumping, all of it, everything that involves foiling. Once I got a narrow, a smaller stance, it helped me so much, and I got that from watching Kiahi riding and from Oscar Johansson in our live show. So
Mr. Bennett, all these guys, they have a narrow stance. It is definitely a trend. It's interesting. I mean, I got a lot to learn because I'm really wide right now because I need all this stability, so I got to bring it in.
Well, but that's the thing, is like, I feel like wide doesn't necessarily give you stability. It just it becomes more twitchy, and it just like makes your mistakes just like happen quickly, because you can shift so much. So by reducing your stance, you just find the sweet spot, and so you don't have as much like range in that spot, but this is the spot where if you have a wide, you go in and out the sweet spot so much, which is going to create
harder to control.
Yeah, harder to control, exactly.
Wow. Well, Gwen sure dove into it in a total specific form. I'm going to break it down. So my number one tip could be, this goes for 100% advanced to 100% beginner, in my opinion. My number one tip would be a little bit more vague, but it's going to be board choice. And the reason I say that is everybody we run into, it always comes down to board choice. Everything I ever learned in this sport from beginning till now, the board choice made everything harder or easier. And so going narrow into that, if you just choose a board where the volume can almost float you. Now, I'd say as a beginner, more volume's gonna be more helpful because you have stability. Now, if you go too much, now you have drag, and that's not necessarily gonna help you, but in learning, it's okay because you just want stability. But as you get better, still that volume is a good thing, because the reason I'm saying this is, let's just say you advance and you get better. What volume gives you is the ability to land tricks easier, do more tricks without having to water start and get up and go through that process, and you're spending more time in the water than on top of the water. So for an advanced rider, I feel like, for instance, I'm 150 pounds. If I choose volume around, we'll call it anywhere from 60 to 70, I almost can stand there 100%, no wind, whatever, and I'm just balancing. It's very minimal, but the second there's a puff, I'm going, and then any trick I want to do, here's the even more of a benefit, is I can run smaller wings, which make the tricks easier to do. I have less power, I can be more nimble, and yet I'm efficient. So there's a lot of benefits to it, even if you're advanced. And then for a beginner, it's a total game changer, because if you're struggling to even just stand on the board, it's a nightmare. And I'm gonna take it one step further in my belief of where things are going, but I believe that boards are actually gonna get a little bit narrower. And I'm not saying when you're first learning, it's really good to be on a narrow board. I would say that's gonna be tippy. But as you get better, a little bit of narrowness makes that board unstick easier. And also, I would say when you're carving turns, you have less, call it a side-to-side touch in the water. You get more room to carve. So in my honest opinion, I think number one tip would just be picking the right board choice for your progressions. And it's funny, I literally had a conversation with a gentleman 2 days ago, and we spoke about, he sent a board up north so that he could have that board up north, and he wished he didn't send that just a little bit bigger volume, and it was only a 10 volume difference, but that 10 volume difference was like struggle or super easy. And it was just, it's literally 10, you know, it was like a 60 to a 70 or 70 to 80, I forget what it was, but it was literally 10. And it's like, that difference for him was ginormous. So yeah. I thought, in my opinion, that would be the biggest tip.
It's spot on, and I love, like, to me, it's so important that your board affects your wing choice and you need to play with it. So even maybe more like if you get to the point where you feel like you want a smaller burn, before you get to a smaller burn, try to go with a smaller wing and that same burn.
Spot on.
Because you already probably have a quiver, so you already have a smaller wing most likely, where you don't have that smaller burn. So now you don't have to buy anything. Just keep riding the same burn. Try to go on a smaller wing, and there's so much to learn from that. You're gonna progress. You're gonna become more efficient. You're gonna be forced to be more efficient because now you just have enough with that wing, and ultimately, foiling once you get going, you don't need much power. And so we always go big because to get going. Now, if you can get efficient at getting going, which means don't go too small on your burn, you get a smaller wing, and now when you are riding, it just feels so nice. It's just like, for everything you said, like, tricks, but anything, just riding, cruising along. You are not overpowered, you don't have turns through turns and all of that. You just have enough, and to me, it's so important to be able to become more efficient. So if you apply both of these tips, you take your stance, you narrow your stance,
yep.
you get a burn that you can go, you don't struggle with it, and you reduce your wing size. Now you are taking your wing foiling to the next level.
That's it. And add one little point there that just, can just kind of open the window of like potential. But I'm going to throw it out there. Rob Douglas, who is one of the fastest wing sailors in the world, is 200 plus pounds, right? And what he learned throughout our many, many years of racing, and I just want to share this because it's very unique. He was a big dude. I'm a small dude, and we'd race speed. Well, in speed, big dudes usually can hold more power and so on and so forth. But what Rob did was very unique, and I'm sharing this for all that description of the board is he actually started creating speed boards that were a little bit bigger than the average speed board, because he would be able to have surface area sliding through those lulls and puffs that gave him the ability to be more efficient even though he was a bigger dude. And I just think that like it all relates. It's the same thing, and it's just literally how efficient can I be, how easy can I make it, and that's why we're sharing these tips. Now we're not going to share anything else. That's it.
I mean, that was I'm not sharing any more of my secret. That was the only one. I don't know. Maybe we'll take this video down at some point if we see people are progressing too fast. But anyway, we want to hear from you. Like, what
is your tip?
What is the tip you would give somebody that maybe for you has been game changer? So drop a comment, share your tips. Don't keep them for you. We do it sometimes.
Yeah, give them to us so that we can make some videos. I'm just kidding. We appreciate you guys. Look, we hope this helps you. I think Gwen nailed an incredible one there. It's a little more advanced, but it's beginnerish as well. And I think, if you think of a unicycle, it's like, a unicycle, you got to be perfect on it. And in theory, a foil is kind of what that is.
It's the same thing.
We hope this helps you guys. We love you. We appreciate you. We really, really are excited to share a lot this year. We got a lot of cool things in store. So make sure to subscribe and like, and get ready for the next video. More to come. Thank you so much.
You.